Hi, welcome back. Finally, we get to this part. I can show you what I want to show you, which is why and how fortune telling works. I'll do it by reading. There's a question I've been asked a lot. Do you believe in fortune telling? I can't answer it because I don't know what believe means. Either I know it or I don't. It's like if there a life after death? Whatever you believe, you are superstitious because nobody can prove there is or there isn't. So somebody think if you don't believe in there's a life after death, then you'll be realistic. No, you just the right answer would be I don't know. So what is fortune telling? Is it a magic? Is it a mental trick? Is it a mind power? You cannot be sure no matter what people say. The only way to know is to be the magician himself. Then you will have the answer in your heart. To find out answers is the reason I learned fortune tell in the first place. I put down the following text because I don't want to write a book about fortune tell, about how to do fortune tell. I want to write a book about why and how fortune telling works. I'll start like this. I remember watching a TV show on the Discovery Channel, The Boy with Divine Power. The show was about a well respected young Buddhist called the Buddha Boy from Nepal. Some of his supporters have claimed that he is a reincarnation of the Buddha. Scientists want to investigate the events that the Buddha Boy has meditated under a tree for years or months, maybe, without eating or drinking anything. That was 2 years ago, or maybe 3, 4 years ago. I watched this show. I still remember the hair about the boy. I was looking forward for an answer, but the show concluded, despite their scientific observation, they didn't find any trace to prove that the boy ate or drank, and they cannot figure out the reason. Furthermore, they said the boy was disappeared at the end of the show. Such a conclusion aroused my curiosity, so I went online and find out the Wikipedia page about the Buddha boy. So I learned his name is Ram cannot pronounce RBB. And just like a normal person, he too has a birthday. So let's see what a divine person's life code looks like. So RBB was born at this date, unknown time. Because it is unknown time, we don't have an hour column for him. His life code would be like this. And the most obvious external feature of the Buddha boy is slaughter. As full because he is an overall weak. It is a pretty shocking result. Briefly and traditionally, slaughter is seen as a ferocious demon. How could it make a great person? That's a question, right? Before I explain, let me mention another Discovery show hosted by Henry Rollins, a well-known violent artist, according to the show, because I didn't know him before I saw the TV show. And the show was about he visited some people, running DNA tests for them in order to find out if they carry the violent gene. The violent gene is a shortened MAOA gene, also referred to as the warrior gene. I remember one season of CSI was about this gene. The carrier turned to go to be violent, turned to behave violently. And based on the result, the show discussed what does the warrior gene means to us, to human. And this is the result. They found 18 candidates. Henry Rollins himself positive, that means he has the shortened MAOA gene. 2 LA gangsters positive, both positive. Randy Hattrick, former Navy SEAL, positive. He's not a bad person. He's just a warrior. So he has a warrior gene. 6 heavy bikers, 3 of them positive. 5 MMA fighters, all negative. That means fighters doesn't have to be violence. It's just their way to work. And 3 Buddhist monks, all positive. All 3 Buddhist monks have the warrior gene. The show used the last example, the result of the Buddhist monk, to tell us that the warrior gene's effect is not absolute. I mean, Buddhist monk is known for peaceful. You are a carrier doesn't mean you have to behave violently, but still, 3 Buddhist monks all have warrior gene. That's odd, isn't it? Although I wasn't too surprised, since this is not the first time I see a violent monk. The interesting question is, which the show didn't touch the question, why Buddhist monks have a high level of violence tendency. Slaughter in Chinese is literally called the 7 kill. Slaughter is the English name made by me. The origin of the terrible name is a mystery, but people see this, although it has a good side and bad side, but most people see it as a bad thing. Some say that 7 kill means the 7 deadly crimes in ancient China. Some say 7 kill is origin from Zhang Xianzhong. And I prefer the easiest explanation. For every decimal code, their killer is 7 numbers away from them. For example, the slaughter 1 is 7, 2 is 8, 3 is 9, such like this. I mean, 7 numbers away. If we do the math, it's 6 numbers away, because 7 minus 1 is 6. But in a way to count, in the ancient Chinese way to count, that's 7 numbers away. Well, despite the bad reputation, I'm starting to get dizzy. Slaughter is a simple relation of another code overcomes the self code. It doesn't have a built-in property of good or evil. People may have questions when they first learn the 10 characters. When characters serve as favor or foe, it shows the good side or the bad side of the character. The good side of the bad side and the bad side of most characters are basically the flip side of the same property. It's the different side of the same thing. For example, the good side of rebel is active and expressive, and the bad side of rebel is, they are too proud and look down upon other people. Because I can't pronounce, I'm afraid I may make mistake. So the good and the bad are basically about the same thing. But when we talk about authority, the good thing about it is authority people are responsible and rule abiding. The bad thing is authority people are irresponsible and disregard laws. Why it contradicts itself? Why it contradicts itself? Damn, English is hard. The answer is authority doesn't necessarily make people responsible or irresponsible. It is the burden itself. For somebody who's strong enough to take it, pressure would shape them into a better man because no pain, no gain. On the other hand, what can kill you kills you. If you cannot handle the pressure, more responsibility will crush you and make you even more irresponsible, which is why you have to be an overall strong life code in order to make authority serve you as a favor, because authority is a weakening character. In a way to see it, authority has the most reason to be a saint because it against your ego, it against your self code. In another word, slaughter is the least selfish character. For example, it actually makes the perfect sense that Buddha boy has a heavy slaughter. He chooses to suffer because he presses himself. There is a similarity between, if there's a similarity between a Buddhist monk and violence people, which the similarity is, in their mind, they put something over themselves, and it's called sacrifice. Believe it or not, people in prison have the highest level of sense of mortality, and the prison is the place with the most strictest hierarchy, because prisoners have a sense of honor stronger than honor people than normal people. That's shows prisoner have a sense of honor stronger than normal people. If somebody does things, if everybody does things at their best interest, then they won't break the law. And if somebody believes he has to be punished, even I have to go down with him, even I have to pay, if I have to, even I have to take risk, even uh, I want to die with you, something like that. That's a sacrifice to me. Prisoner is like that because crime is not a good business. You hurt him and you hurt yourself. If somebody is willing to do that, that's a sacrifice. Slaughter makes good military material. That is because the force against us is also called discipline. Actually, military trainers often use insulting language on new recruits, because only by breaking your ego as a person you can rebuild your pride and take your responsibility as a soldier. Slaughter actually brings an unconscious tendency of, you restrict your sexual desire, since it is a self-denial mentality, which is why in Japan schoolgirls wear short skirts and thug girls wear long skirt to identify themselves. Soldiers shave their head, and one reason is for the medical purpose. The other reason is people's hair are antennas of sex hormones, and because people's hair is antennas of sex hormones, which is why Buddhist monks shave their head and the Muslims cover their hair. So let's see some example. Well, I will use famous people as example, but I won't analyze everything about this life code, because I, when for example I'm showing you about slaughter, I'm going to only show you the slaughter part, because the examples will be reused in the future in the part 3. In the part 3 we will analyze their life, which is when we do comprehensive analysis about the person's personality. Right now we just learning about the character we are learning about. One day I heard Charlize Theron shaved her head. I thought she might have slaughter in her life code, and in this position I'll show you why. Not only because she shaved her head, but also because she shows some tendency of self-abuse in movies, such as playing ugly roles. We know that she's beautiful, and she likes to play ugly roles, so we can see that she has some tendency of self-abuse inside of her. Because slaughter against yourself, people sit on slaughter are prone to treat themselves in a harsh way. People sit on slaughter means the self-code sit on slaughter, this position. So I didn't mention that the position of the character. This is the year column. Year column represents your family. This is the month column. Month column represents your career. It represents your sibling. And this is the date column. Date column represents yourself. And because the basal character represents the deeper level, so this position indicates the deeper side of yourself. So this is yourself, and this is the back side of yourself. And this position is also called the spouse position, because this is the self column, this is state column, which represents yourself, this is the other half. So this position is also and can also indicate your spouse. Because we'll come back, because slaughter against ourselves. People sit on slaughter are prone to treat themselves in a harsh way. Like Michael Jackson, we know he treated himself in the hard way, and he sees some slaughter. And Bear Grylls, yeah, we know who he is. He's the bug eater, the survivor, right? Of course, he treat himself harsh, which is why maybe not the reason, but the result, he sees on slaughter. That's our examples. Actually, celebrities are not good for practicing fortune telling. The first reason, we don't really know them. They can be totally different in real life. Besides, we can find out the birthday of a celebrity, but it's hard to find out the birth time. So we are lack of information. If they were born between 11 and 12 p.m., then the birth date would be totally wrong, which is why a celebrity are not good to practice. If you want to practice fortune telling, start with yourself because you know yourself, not them. People may ask, slaughter people are ruthless. They have the least hesitation to accomplish their goals through means beyond bounds. So slaughter people are dirty. How could they actually be the principle over me type? How would you say that? Keep in mind that slaughter is something against you. It can push you accomplish the hardest thing or cause fear and resent. To be saint or a monster, it all comes down to how the person see and accept the pressure upon them. Once they see the meaning, they can sacrifice the most and endure the worst. RBB, I would say Buddha boy. That's a better name. Choose to suffer because he believes he is doing a great thing. Unfortunately, not everybody can find something to commit to. Most violent and extreme person story start with one word: resist. People resist because they feel repressed. Traditionally, slaughter it is the sign for destruction because it is a natural reaction to resist the power. When the word seems have turned the back on you, the word is turning on you, then you have to resist, right? And when you fight the devil, you become the devil yourself. According to Henry Rollins, he became violent because he was beaten up every day when he was little, which is why he grew up and he overcame his fear by became what he feared. I mean, he started to beat up other people, turned himself into a part of the problem, If people influenced by slaughter, they don't think the principle against them is actually acceptable, violence will become the principle they believe in. So they are still principle over me person. If you see the world as a food chain, the only difference is strong and the weak. What do you want? What do you want to be? A good guy or a badass? I mean, the good guy only means you're weak. A bad only means you're strong. Because if you see world as a food chain, there is really no good or bad, only strong and weak, right? Life under pressure is like a wall. Slaughter people are ruthless, not because they don't have moral values, but because their moral values are closer to a military judge system. The highest principle is to win, and the most unforgivable behavior is betrayal. I mean, the civil court won't judge a case like that, but the military court will make judgment like this. Accomplishing goals through means beyond the bounds just prove they commit to their principles, because their principles is the highest principle is to win. A character affects people in all perspectives and all level, but from any perspectives, slaughter can be explained as a force on ego. On the other hand, in another word, it is something against me. For example, commitments, principles, faith, responsibilities, fear, guilt, shames are essentially the different forms of the same thing. They are all pressure on the ego. Similar way of thinking can be applied to all characters. All characters can be explained like that. For example, what are talent? What is talent? People look like. How to describe talent? How to describe gourmet and rebel? Well, they like to eat, they like to talk, they like to dream, they are optimistics, they like to show off, they like to have sex. To sum all those up, what do they like exactly? Again, I think, according to my research, what they like are different forms of the same thing. They like to discharge. All this eat, talk, dream, show off, have sex are discharging. Talent means another code grown by the self code. In another word, talent is something I born. Logically, what does something I born do to me? It discharges me, which is why talent, what they like, all of what they like, all of their description can be summed up to one word: discharge or releasing. That all that words are phenomenon, and this word is the essential. This is the true form of of the of the what can be seen from the appearance. So this is how I see life code. The self code is the authentic self. Other codes are object awareness, which is part of yourself, your subjective consciousness too. I mean, your conscious is made by authentic self and object awareness. You will find everything in fortune tales starts to make sense with this point of view. Authentic self, what is that? It's the you within you, and characters are other you. For example, everybody we see in our dream is actually ourselves. For example, if I dream about Michael Jackson, that's not really Michael Jackson, that's me. But we can feel only one of them is ourselves. Which one is me in my dream? The one with vision. I mean, I'm the one. I'm using my eye. The one I'm using. The one is using my eye is the me in my dream. Let me put it this way. People often say, I say to myself, I can't forgive myself, I doubt myself, I can't help myself, I push myself, I be true to myself, I'm kidding myself. So for example, when I'm talking to myself, who is talking to whom? It is the other you talking to yourself, to the authentic self. It is your character talking to your self code. Different character talked to us differently. Slaughter would say, "You are such a loser," and Guardian would say to themselves, "It's okay, don't worry," because Slaughter oppressed the self code and Guardian support the self code. So, in conclusion, how other codes do to the self code is how other me do to myself. Therefore, the true form of the 10 characters is the relation of me and my ego. People have different attitude because they treat themselves differently. How you treat yourself is how you treat the world and how the world treats you. So the relations are, then that's the review. Authority oppresses your ego. Money consumes your ego. And because I overcomes money and money would consume me. Talents discharge my ego because I grow talents and talents discharge me. Shield supports my ego and strength enhance your ego. Each relation have two different forms, same-sex reaction and different sex reaction. Same-sex reaction is yin and yin or yang and yang. Different sex reaction is a yin and a yang, maybe an yin or an yang. Same-sex reaction also called without love. Different-sex reaction also called with love, because same-sex reaction means the code and the self-codes don't attract each other, and different-sex reaction means the code and the self-code attract each other because they have different yin-yang property. With love and without love are pretty confusing concept. My understanding is with love means I like to. Without love means I have to. For example, judge means I like to take pressure. Slaughter means I am depressed or I have to take pressure. Collector is I like to do. Gambler is I have to do. Rebel is I like to express. Gourmet is I have to express. You know that gourmet is same-sex expression, same-sex discharging, same-sex I bore. Rebel is different sex, which is I like to. Guardian, I like to be cautious. Owl, I have to be cautious. Pirate, I like to be ego. And comrade, I am ego, because ego is the self-code, comrade is the same as the self-code, right? Have to is stronger than like to, which is why same-sex beat or grow, beat means overcome. Sometimes I change the word I use. Same-sex beat or grow is more powerful than the opposite sex beat or grow. People have too much same-sex character. Same-sex characters are comrades, comrade, owl, gourmet, gambler, and slaughter. If people have too much same-sex character, they will have higher OCD tendencies, because all their mentalities is I have to, I have to, I have to. One of the notes stated, if all odds or all even per people, all odd or all even people means all your friend-like codes are odd numbers or even numbers. If you have structure like that, you usually have trouble in your marriage. The usual explanation is people with all odd or all even, people with all odd codes are overly hard, and people with all even are overly delicate. Neither of those are good for your relationships. In my opinion, that's one reason. There's another reason is if you have all odd or all even, that means your character must be same-sex character. Same-sex characters are characters without love, so there's no love within them. So naturally, they don't know how to love people. So authority presses me. Money consumes me. Talent discharges me. Shield supports me. Strength enhances me. This principle sounds like easy, but if you don't have these characters, you may never really understand what it means, because they are feelings. You will never know the taste of peach by listening to others. Okay, I think that's too long for one episode. I will stop here. See you in the next episode.